Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Sherry Turquoise and today I will be doing a book review on Lord of the Last Heartbeat. Lord of the Last Heartbeat, a fantasy romance. The Sacred Dark Book 1, and this book is by Meg Peterson. I actually have mixed feelings on this book because it was a typical romance. The fantasy was awesome. The plot was actually excellent. I'm just giving you a heads up, there will be heavy spoilers here. So, the plot was excellent. It just kept you on your toes. There was lots of plot twists I didn't really see coming, but at the exact same time I kind of did. The characters. So I'll go a little bit more into depth of the plot. So the plot, actually I'm going to talk about the story. I'm all over the place with this. So the story is about Milo the mage, who does become a sorcerer later on in the book, and Rodri the moon soul, also known as a shapeshifter, into a bear. So these two characters meet at a party. Milo asks for Rodri's help. Rodri helps him and gives him shelter at his place. While this is happening, Rodri is trying to free himself and the other spirits, Elise, Rosemary, Cecilio, and himself from the curse with other spirits as well. And during that time, Milo and Rodri start becoming like a couple kind of thing, which I will get into that. So, overall, the plot structure was, like I said, excellent. Kept you on your toes, made you want to keep reading more. It definitely had one of the better hooks than some other stories that I have read in the past, and I do mean like back in high school kind of thing. And I actually finished reading this book 2 o'clock in the morning this morning, because it's like I'm just going to finish this book because I did not have much left. The book cover I absolutely like, which I thought was very pretty given the situation. Unfortunately, I cannot zoom in anymore, and okay, iPad, what did you just do? No, I don't want that book. And unfortunately, it did not show up on the screen, which is a drawback. So I like and I actually don't know what kind of flower that is, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but the cover is lovely, and it indicates fully what kind of story this is. And the flower is beautiful. You can see the chains, and it's just an indication of what the book is about. Now, one of the things that was the main focus of the curse was this incubus, a spirit that holds other spirits with chains. So they had to figure a way how to defeat it, but in order to defeat it, they had to figure out who the owner was, which is where the plot twists kept coming in, because one finger got pointed to one character, then another finger got pointed to another character, and then it got pinpointed to a character that's only been brought up a couple of times, which made some readers think that it was actually his, which is Pyro. I think it's the character that don't really get brought up. That's how often his name got brought out. Like, it got brought up enough times to make you think, okay, maybe he's the killer. kind of thing. His name's brought up enough to make you remember him to a certain degree, but not enough to go, because he only brought up, and there's not really much detail about him. So, wasn't exactly a lot of information about him, but definitely made the suspect list. So, I am going to go straight to character development. So, the character developments were Sintira, which is I think I'm pronouncing her name wrong, which is Tibero and Miles' mother, who is a gang leader, I'm going to say, in this. I don't know how else the word is, but she is also a sorcerer or sorceress in this case, which is also another name for witch. And her powers come from her left eye, and her left eye is red, so she can control people once she finds out their secrets, which does lead to a question before Milo came into the picture. How does she control people before Milo? Because Milo is also a sorcerer, technically a mage until some point in time where he becomes a sorcerer, and his powers come from singing to find their secrets. So before Milo found out that he was a mage, sorcerer, how did the mother control everyone? Because that would have been one of the flashbacks that would have been nice to know how she done it, and which would have been interesting and would have gone into character's depth, which I thought her character was drastically underwritten. She almost felt like a one-dimensional character, actually, because we don't really know the motives all that well, other than the motive that she is trying to control the city, but we don't really know why, other than the fact that she claims that she is trying to make a better life for her sons. But it's not really that in depth. Like, how long has she been doing this? Has she been planning this before her sons were born? So realistically, we could have a story on her alone in a prequel for this story, just to see how she got brought up, how her powers came to be, how this war happened, and what her life was like with the war, because we don't really experience it. And another thing that I didn't think the character was that developed was the fact that near the end, when she tells her son Milo that he can go back to Rodri and she won't stop him, but there's a catch to this. He is not welcome back into the family. So you wanted your son back so badly, and then all of a sudden you're going to shun him. What was the motive for that one? Because that made zero sense. It made sense, but also not, because the mother knows that Milo hates her, but if the mother really wanted to try and put an effort, she could, in a way, re-earn Miles' trust, or at least earn respect, and have the respect being called a mother again. But instead, she took the easiest route, the most fastest and the easiest route, and just plain, bye, I don't want to be your mom anymore kind of thing. If you go back to Rodri, you're not welcome back, and basically you're not my son. It was kind of the message I got from that, which is not exactly the most positive thing, which I understand because it's a dark story. But still, when Milo and his mom fought, she burst into tears when he when she found out that Milo hated her, kind of thing. So, and then all of a sudden say, wants to get back to the city, tell her son that if you go back to Rodri, you're not welcome back. But I'll make sure there's no one hunting you down for protection, but you won't have the same protection that I have given you, kind of thing, which the mafia was his armor basically for protection, so that way no one else will hunt him down. But realistically, from what I'm understanding from the story, a moon soul has a little bit more power because you're not really supposed to hunt them down. So versus a sorcerer, you could hunt down and talk to them, I guess, or something, or put them in jail. So realistically, Milo's actually safer with Rodri than the mother, even though the mother had Caesarea had control basically of the whole city except for one character, which obviously she probably got control of him. But then when Milo went back to Rodri, Tibero and the mother cried. But my question was, were they even real tears to begin with because of those harsh words that you said earlier? Were you hoping was the character hoping that fear would have made Milo stay? No. So Caesarea and Tibero cried, but it made me question their crying, whether it was real or fake. And yeah, it did not feel right. Because that felt like an unnatural part of the character unless it was an act. Then I would believe that actually. Tibero now is I believe the younger brother of Milo. Tibero is also a side character, which also near the end opens some new questions which did not get really answered, and Tibero could also have a story all on his own in another book. Tibero is a very protective brother to Milo, and he becomes a moon soul as well. He becomes a cat, or as Rodri likes to call him, a ginger snap. So a ginger snap cat kind of thing, the size of a panther. So Tibero does die and comes back from the dead thanks to Milo, but Tibero comes to collect Milo in the story. And the mother claimed that she wasn't going to get involved, and yes, she did. And that's how the Tibero died and came back as a moon soul. So now he is immortal, and he has stuck with his mother because he felt like he had to. When realistically, Tibero also found out what kind of mother they had, and by every right, he could actually leave her as well and join the cat tribe, I believe it's called in the story, or learn how to control his magic and use it, because now he is immortal. He has magical powers just like his mother and his brother. However, his powers are different, and he does not age. So at some point in time, he will more than likely leave, but only when probably the mother has passed away. Or maybe he will continue the legacy because he is immortal and not many things can kill him. So he was also upset when Milo went back, which I can believe that a little bit more over the mother. And Tibero came near the end of the story. He would check up on Milo to see how he is doing. The question led to was it his decision alone to sneak out and check up on the brother, or did the mother have something to do with that? It could be a combination of both, so that did lead to that question. And really, Tibero actually could have left a note to Milo, while in cat form, just like write his note before changing it into an animal, because that's how they could have communicated, but that was not the case. So I just felt like there wasn't a proper closure with the family, because Milo left the family for good, but it didn't feel like a full closure to the family. I feel like the writer could have like wrote a letter, like Milo could have wrote a letter and have Tibero read it to the mom, or have both of them read it at the exact same time, or Tibero write a letter to Milo just to tell him how everything's going. And because, spoiler alert, Milo and Rodri are planning on moving somewhere else, is Milo going to just leave a note saying, hey, I forgive the family kind of thing? Just do a proper closure on that, because it honestly didn't feel like it was a closure. It just felt like it was another open wound that won't heal until there is a proper closure. Which leads to Milo's character. Now, Milo, I honestly don't really think he developed as a character all that much, even though he was a main character. Like, yes, there was some character growth, but not enough in my opinion. There should have been some more, because he had potential to grow more. He stayed silent for the longest time in the story, which he learned hand sign, and from there he learned new part of his powers. And then from the beginning, this is where it got confusing for me, because the author made it sound like Milo was a girl a couple of times when really he was a boy. And then that's what sucked me out, because it's like, are we talking about a boy or a girl now? Because it was just the way it got worded, which I understand, because Milo is attracted to males as well, so I don't know if that was that kind of an indication, but it was enough of a sucked out of the story where it actually made me, at first in the beginning of the story, it would start off with sound like he's a boy, and then all of a sudden it'll just switch and make it sound like he's a full-on female, like a completely different gender, like he went from male to female and then back to male, which sucked me out of the story. It made me think, okay, is he trans? Like, is he trans into a female from a male? But that wasn't the case, which made the story a little bit confusing at first. And then as the story prolonged, he put his needs aside to please other people, which you can obviously see as the story continues, and he still does that even near the end of the story. There's only been really a couple of times where he would hesitate as if he's not comfortable with the idea or does not want to, but in the end he agrees to it, even despite him not wanting to. Which I understand, because that is his upbringing, so he always put his needs last. But in the growth, I was expecting Milo to kind of grow a little bit of a backbone and go, no, I really don't want to do this, can we try something else kind of thing. But I never really saw that side of Milo. He basically, whatever Rodri asked him to do, he basically agreed really eagerly, which I understand with a repayment. But when you hit a relationship goal, like a couple, there should be some debates, there should be some, no, I'm not comfortable with this, but there was none of that. He just basically openly agreed to basically almost, well, actually, no, he actually agreed to everything. And that kind of tells the reader that he hasn't really found himself and shouldn't really commit to a relationship the way he did, and it kind of led to an unhealthy relationship, which I will get to shortly. The next character, which is Elise, honestly, of all the characters, I think she's my favorite one because of her ice abilities and her coldness, but at the exact same time, she was trying to be heard and she was being misunderstood for the longest time, and when she was finally being able to have someone to understand her and hear her, her character growth grew even more, and it showed that even though she loved Rodri did not love her the exact same way, and she respected that and kept it as a friendship kind of thing, that no matter what, I am always by your side. So I liked her character the most, and I felt like it had the most growth despite her being a side character. And honestly, in a way, we could have a story of her as well in a prequel. Next is Rosemary. Rosemary was a very, very neutral character. There wasn't really... yes, there was some backstory with her, but at the exact same time, there really wasn't. Like, the backstory almost came in as a thought dump, like all at once at the end of the story when, spoiler, she's the villain. Like, she's the antagonist this entire time. And we never really found out her backstory until then. And I kind of wish there was a little bit of sprinkle of her backstory as the story prolonged, but that wasn't really the case. So it all came in at once, which was okay, but at the exact same time, it was a lot to take in at once because, like, I'm the villain! And here is why. And it was at least 3 to 4, maybe 5 sentences. So it was a plot dump then. So it was a lot to take in. And then there is Cecilia, who is a servant that helps Rodri out. And he continues so even though he is free and he can go wherever he wants and does not need to return, but he still stays with Rodri despite knowing that he could actually rest in peace now and be free. Now he can also roam the city and go beyond the house. And then there is Rodri. Rodri now, I'm not a real fan of his character. For the most part, he wasn't really going to help Milo out because of the curse, and he knew what was going to happen. But at the exact same time, he still helped Milo out. And then as soon as Milo got to his house, he basically pushed him away. And when he didn't, he asked him to do things, and Milo openly agreed to do things as a servant and learn sign language to help the communication section. But for the most part, Rodri didn't really want anything to do with him, and if there was a attraction to Milo, it didn't really indicate that too well, which I understand because he hadn't had feelings awakened for quite a long time. But when the time came for him to admit his feelings, it kind of felt forced. Like, because he's openly admitted that he's been married to a woman Elise for at least 2 to 3 years. And then all of a sudden this goes, oh, by the way, I'm attracted to you. It kind of felt forced, almost unnatural, because he didn't really give off the kind of vibe like, hey, I'm attracted to you, Milo, kind of thing. Instead, he was cold and distant for quite a long time until basically the picnic, and Rodri was talking to him, and was opening up to him, which is great. But then Milo kissed him, and Rodri kissed him back, but then pushed him away almost at the exact same time. So in a way, it kind of felt forced, but I understand at the exact same time if he was trying to hide his identity that way, which I understand. But it just didn't feel 100% natural. It just felt like it just went with the plot instead of a character driven, which honestly I think the story was a lot plot driven than character driven. So it just didn't feel natural. And then near the end, actually at the very end, Rodri was not leaving Mile by himself. You cannot tell me each couple spends 24/7 together. And the only time Mile really got to be by himself was when Rodri was sleeping during the day. But even then, Mile kind of slept during the day in Rodri's bed with him. So really, Mile didn't really have a whole lot of time by himself, not without Rodri being there. And it kind of indicates something else into the relationship, which I'm going to bring up right now. The relationship between Milo and Rodri didn't really feel real to me. It kind of felt like it actually kind of felt an unhealthy relationship because Milo was openly agreeing to everything that Rodri was asking him to do, especially with the move. Milo basically openly agreed, like, yeah, I would like to see your hometown, but at the exact same time, he didn't hesitate. He didn't say, let me think about it for a little bit. There was no hesitation. Like, there was an openly agreement. And I will admit, this is the part that I liked about Rodri. He even openly admit that if you don't want to move because you want to be close to your family, I totally understand, which is the part I liked about Rodri, which means he respects Milo's decision. But at the exact same time, Milo wasn't really by himself ever, so if Milo wanted some time alone, he didn't really get that opportunity. And instead, they're always together. They're not really apart. Another thing that made me question their relationship was the lack of communication. Despite the sign language and Milo's powers able to help them communicate, it still felt like there was a lack of communications. Like, there wasn't really any debate. There wasn't really any arguing. Yes, there was happy and sad moments, but it lacked the, hey, this is a healthy relationship because they're debating this and they're arguing kind of thing like a couple would, and then they try to solve it together. But instead, Rodri pushes Milo away and tries to solve it by himself when Milo is trying to help. So it kind of makes me lean to thinking that it is a little bit of an unhealthy relationship. Now, in time, it could change into a healthy relationship because that would be the nice thought. Overall, I did enjoy the story. I actually formed some new questions near the end of the story, like the encompass. What happened to him? Like, where did he go? Has he discovered himself? So that was the kind of thing I wouldn't mind for a closure as well, because now he's kind of up in the air, like we don't really know what happens to him. And then there's Tibero, who is now the Moon Soul. Well, does Tibero and Milo get back together as brothers and they contact each other? Does Tibero finally leave the mother because he had enough of her crime ways and try to go find himself that way? Or does he stick around with the mother all the time and does her bidding. So that led to those questions, which didn't get closed at the end of the story. And what about Milo's family? Did the mother regret her decision and writes a letter, which she does not, but we don't know if she has tried, and just burns it away. So those were questions that came to my head because it didn't feel like a full closure. Yes, the romance happily ending was there, and same with fantasy, but it just didn't close every single door, and it just had new questions at the end when there shouldn't have been any questions. So it didn't feel like a full resolution. It made me think that there's more to the story, and I have read the description of the second book already because I saw that it's coming out August 3rd, and it's based on completely new characters. So unless there is some sort of connection between those characters and the new characters in the second book, then that will be alright. Maybe the closures will be somehow intertwined with the second book. I don't know. It is taking place, not taking place, it is coming out August 3rd. I don't remember the title though. That's the drawback. But anyways, I am giving this star 3 out of 5 stars. The plot was nice, despite the unanswered questions. I enjoyed the story quite a bit, and it was a nice read, something completely different. And I do recommend this book. I will leave a link to it down below if you guys want to go check it out and read it. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon to get notified of all my posts, because during Camp NaNoWriMo I post videos 5 to 6 days a week and do live streams once a week. And then during the month before Camp NaNoWriMo, I do 2 live streams a week and do 2 upload videos a week. And during the normal months, I just do 1 video a week and I do 1 live stream a week. So click the bell icon to get notified of all my posts. I also post bonus content as well every once in a while. And click the like button, leave a comment down below, and follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And all the links will be down below. And remember, stay true to yourself and stay unique. Bye.